Hello everyone, I'm Suzanne Hamilton, Director of Ascension Counseling Center. You're watching Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter where we talk about the services we offer and how you can benefit from them. Thanks for joining us. Our topic this episode is resiliency. You'll hear from a panel of guests like so many of us, our families, friends, and neighbors impacted by the flood and rebuilding not only our homes but also our lives. We'll talk with Lisa Weber Curry, Manager of Clinical Services at Ascension Counseling Center, and with Marshall Courtney, Video Production Specialist at Ascension 21. Won't you stay with us for the next half hour or so? Our newsletter begins right after this message.
Ascension Parish, a parish steeped in tradition. It's a place where generations of families have continued to enjoy a lifestyle that centers on community living and community celebration. It's a place where we care about each other and we care about ourselves. For more than 50 years, the Ascension Counseling Center has continued the tradition of helping individuals and families change behaviors and change lives. The Ascension Counseling Center.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. We're going to talk about resiliency, which is the ability to bounce back after an adversity or some kind of difficulty. And our panel today, if you notice, I'm in the different chair, Lisa is in the guest chair, and Marshall Courtney, who's with us, is usually behind the camera. And they're with us today because we want you to know that even though we're here with our topics and we talk about all of the things we talk about, we have the same issues that you do. And this flood has not been, it's affected everyone equally, and so we have been affected as well. So we have Lisa and Marshall here to talk about their experiences. And so I would like to hear from both of you, what damage did you experience during the flooding?
I received about 8 inches of rainwater and river water inside. My water rose Friday morning and to about 4 inches before we left of rainwater. And then Sunday, the river water came up and the water mark was around 8 inches inside.
Okay.
And we got just over 2 feet of water in the home. And it pretty much damaged everything in the home. I think we managed to save 1 bedroom and 1 vehicle. In the process, we lost 4 vehicles, including my daughter's home's flooding, so it was a total of 4 homes and 4 vehicles.
Okay. And what were your immediate thoughts and feelings when you realized that the water was coming up and that you would be flooded?
Friday morning, my wife told me that she came in and told me that she was going to get her feet wet trying to get to her car. And my initial thought was, you're going to get your feet wet. She came back in and told me that the rainwater was a concern, so I got up, got out of bed, and realized once I opened the door how serious it was soon to be. It was just at the threshold at that point. My initial thought was pick everything up off the floor. I went into go mode. I told my wife I go in go mode just to stay out of my way. So I started just trying to secure as many things as I could get my hands on.
Okay, so your response was to do anything that you could to prevent as much damage as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because I had an appointment that morning with a contractor anyway for our home. We were redoing our floors, and I get a phone call from my niece in Houston saying, why don't you get in your vehicle and bring your family and come stay with us because you guys are about to flood. And I'm thinking, no, it rains here all the time. We survived that. So I got up, started calling family saying if you need to come here because we never flood. And then I said, let me go to the grocery store. Went to the grocery store, coming back into the neighborhood. The first 2 homes had already flooded. But I'm thinking, this is because you're right near the big ditch across the street, so we're fine. But as I go into the subdivision, the water is traveling from street to street, and it had not made it to our street. So I sat outside watching the mailbox to see how high the water would go. And when it got maybe 1/4 up to the mailbox, my whole thought at that time, family, let me get them packing get a bag packed, get ready to go, wake up the neighbor, make sure she's ready to go. So I started planning steps, and if we have to leave here, how we're going to leave here, and what do I need to do next. So I already had that list. Military presence took completely over at that point.
And so it sounds like for you as well, first there was a little sense of denial. You know, this is really not going to happen to us. And then as soon as you realized it did, you kind of went into go mode as well.
Exactly.
And began thinking about your family, your loved ones, and what everyone would have to do.
Exactly.
All right. What have you had to do to rebuild?
We acted pretty quickly. We had sheetrock on order, knowing, when we left the house, we knew there was already water in the house, so we knew there was going to be at least 4 feet of work to do. So we had sheetrock on order Sunday, and we picked it up Monday, so we would be ready to go. Once I could schedule my work appropriately, we started gutting the house first thing, I want to say it was Monday afternoon following the rain event. And we took probably a couple of days to get everything out of the house and start dealing with mold at that point.
So you had to how much of your house was anything gutted? How much did you have to clean out?
We were lucky. I consider ourselves lucky because we only got 8 inches compared to other people, 2+ feet. But one of the things we did before we left, we raised a lot of the furniture off the ground in hopes that it would be saved. So we saved a lot of our furniture. That weekend I had pre-ordered a pod so that we could store things on property. And again, just being hopeful that there would be things to put in it. So we moved everything out of the house that was saved. We even removed the doors from the hinges and saved the doors. So we removed 4 foot from the 4 foot mark down, just because in the rebuilding process it's easier to do sheetrock that way. And we gutted the sheetrock, the floors, hardwood, and then the insulation, and just put everything to the street.
Great. Lisa, how about for you? What have you had to do to rebuild?
I think the first thing for anybody is acceptance. Accept the fact that this has happened to you. So what are we going to do about it now that it happened? So making sure that my family, my immediate family who was affected, had accepted the fact that this happened. Once we did that, once again, you go into action mode. We were first able to go back into our homes 3 days later, and immediately went in, started gutting and cleaning out. My family came in, and we just gutted out the whole house. And like Marshall, we had our furniture up on risers, hoping that we would save it that way. Didn't work out that way anyway, but that was fine too. So acceptance, rebuilding, gutting out the house, accepting help from others, because sometimes you think you can do it all yourself, but you really need to allow yourself to say to that stranger that shows up at your door, yeah, come on in. Because by Sunday, we had 20 strangers we had never met that said, we're here to work. We don't want to sit down. We don't want to pause. We want to work until your house is completely gutted. And they did it. It was from little kids to elderly folks, and they got it done. So really going in, gutting, removing all the things that need to be removed, making sure you get it sprayed by insecticide and also the mold and mildew spray. That was really challenging to find. So we purchased a lot of stuff in New Orleans, which helped us out because the stores in Baton Rouge were just out. So yeah, really just getting your house ready for when the contractors come in and get ready to go to work. And like you said, pre-ordering your pod. When we got off the boat, because we left our subdivision by boat, we had already contacted rental cars, we had established hotels, we had a U-Haul truck, we had storage. So you have to allow your mind to move forward and not stay stuck in what just happened.
Okay. And so, this program is about resiliency, and that's the ability to spring back after some kind of tragedy. And so I was curious about, what does that mean to you, the ability to spring back?
I know for me, it's not just springing back, but it's overcoming whatever tragedy, adversity, trauma you face, and springing back stronger than what you were before. I just saw this as a way to do things in the house that I always wanted to do anyway. So it's just really overcoming it, accepting it, overcoming it, knowing that you're going to make it through all of this, and making sure the people around you are okay, checking in with them, you know, encouraging them, because people get discouraged in situations like this. But overcoming, doing better, taking the time to listen to people's stories and helping them out. So I know Louisiana is resilient. We've been through a lot, all types of weather and problems, and we're resilient people. And so just reminding each other that we can overcome what we've already overcome, which means we can overcome anything else that comes our way. Yeah.
Marshall, how about for you?
I would say, I mean, being resilient is something that's, I think it's instilled from a young age, if your parents can put that into you. And I mean, I know with my dad, if something broke, something happened, don't worry about it, fix it, you know, mechanical or anything like that. So I mean, it's easy for me to push past the situation and think, okay, we gotta start working on it now. I know we had a lot of, my hardest part was probably just accepting the help from people. So I'm used to being helpful, not being helped. So growing up, doing mission trips, going out of state, doing stuff like that for flood victims or for homeless or whatever, and then having a family friend come over from Houston 4 weekends in a row, you know, all the gas, the time, that's hard. And it's hard for me to sit there and accept it because I'm not used to it. Or a gift card or cash, you know, you're prideful, you're proud, so it's hard to take that. That was probably the hardest thing for me. You know, we're slowly rebuilding, but my wife, she had her moment, I think, that morning. You know, I think it hit her hard. When the water got in the house, came through the walls, it hit her there, and you know, I'm usually her, you know, as her husband, I'm her strong point. So I don't even know I think now probably it's hitting me a little bit now that I'm able to reflect. But yeah, I mean, I definitely learned a lot from my parents, being resilient.
And it's like you say, there is a difference between being the one who's always strong, the one who's always the helper, the fixer, you know, doing, like you say, going into go mode, you are always doing that for other people, and being the one who now needs that. Yeah. And it's really hard to switch over into that mindset because there's not, resiliency, you know, comes when we're down. That's whenever we find out how much of that we actually have. So it's different being the person who's always helping others and being the person who is now in that position to need help. And you don't really know until you're in that position how much resiliency that you actually have and what that actually means to you and to your family. What would for both of you, what are a couple of things that you think helped you have resilience in this situation?
I think first of all for me is gratitude. I'm grateful every day for every blessing I'm given. And I think when you are grateful and you have gratitude in your life, it opens the door for more blessings to pour into your life. So I started out being grateful that my family and I got out alive. My neighbors got out alive, for all the people that survived. So being grateful took me out of feeling sorry for myself or for anybody else, and knowing we can repair this, we can fix this, we can move on. And the other thing is faith. I have a really, really strong faith, and it's hard to shake it. So my faith was there the entire time. And I think the other thing is I always find positive in a negative. When people say they're victims, I say I'm a victor. I looked at this as an opportunity to redecorate the house. No debates with the husband about maybe this is too expensive or no, we can do this at another time, because all of it has to be done now. So I'm having fun shopping for wood floors and doing other things like that. So to me, it's just something that happens in life. It can happen to you. It can happen to anybody. We watch it on TV. We stop for a moment and pray for those families. Well, this time it just happened to be us. And why not us? We're no different than anybody else. It's just how you choose to react to things that happen in your life. And I know the other thing that pushed forward my resiliency is also that in the middle of the flood, in the middle of gutting our house out, my mom was placed on life support. So we had no other choice but to say, move forward. And that's what we did.
And you've mentioned some other things too as we've been talking, and you've talked about your concern for other people and your neighbors and other people in the community. And I think that's an important piece that you recognized and took advantage of as well, that there were other people who care about you, and you allowed them to come in, but you also recognized that there were other people in need, and you reached out to them even while you were in the midst of your need. And I think that's an important piece of resiliency as well.
It is, because it keeps you from getting stuck in your own sorrow. I mean, every piece of information I learned that could help folks who were affected by the floods, I was emailing, calling people, sharing with them, knocking on their doors, letting them know. Even sharing our contractors with our neighbors, because they didn't think about that beforehand. So I'm saying, look, my neighbor needs you. Can you go? Can you give them an estimate? Can we at least get their homes gutted out so that they don't have to be concerned about mold and mildew? So yes, stepping out of your own moment of tragedy and helping somebody else really propels you forward.
And Marshall, how about for yourself?
I have to agree with Lisa. There's, the people that you surround yourself with, really help build that resiliency. The reaction from the people that are close to you, family and friends coming in to help, being grateful for what you have. I almost felt there was times of guilt because I only got 8 inches of water, and other people lost everything, and anything over 4 foot. You start talking about family photos and irreplaceable things. So I felt guilty for just having to replace some sheetrock and floors. We saved most everything else.
So you looked at your situation in comparison to others, realized that other people had it worse off than you, and that was one way that you kind of coped with what happened to you. Yeah,
and people tell me, they tell you don't feel bad, you're a victim as well. And I did get past that point, but I still look at the larger piles of trash on the road, or houses being completely torn down, and it's rough. But we all have to rebuild something. So we were all affected by it. But family helps get through that. Friends, we got to a point where our house was dry and it was gutted, and I was able to go help other people, which it helps, because you're used to being helpful, and I want to help other people. So, it's just trying to get over that you were affected, even, it's real, I guess.
Both of you talked about kind of flipping immediately into this go mode where you began to think, I need to do this, and this. How did you handle it when you came up to a point where that didn't work anymore? Like there was nothing else to do. You had to just kind of deal with all the emotions and everything that was going on as a part of it. At a certain point, you can't just do your way out of the emotions and everything that you go through. How did you handle that when you came up to a point where there was nothing more to do?
I like to stay busy, I'm in go mode a lot. When the house was finally gutted and all you could do was wait for it to dry, I tried to stay busy at work. It really felt like the first 14 days were just one long day, because you were just constantly going, trying to get things done. You had to gut, I couldn't wait for a normal day where I could go to work, wake up at my normal time, go to work, and then go home. And well, that wasn't going to happen. My wife, she caught herself driving home for a couple days in the wrong direction. We're staying with my parents, and so I guess when the house was drying, and when you're able to kind of step back, it kind of hit you a little bit because you couldn't go anymore. There was nothing else to do at that point. But and really, it probably didn't hit me until just now, when we were talking about it earlier. It probably really didn't set into me until because I haven't really reflected back on it and talked about it. Because I prefer to hear other people's stories. I want to make sure they're okay. So I haven't really talked to anybody about it.
And it's important to process your own experiences. As you're listening to other people's stories, they're processing their experience, and it's equally important to process your own as you're doing.
Definitely.
Yeah. And there's not really a whole lot of time to just be, but I've always been good at just being. I guess it comes from being a counselor. Yeah. I know how to just be when everything stopped. As Marshall said, you're letting your home dry out. Yeah. So what do? Well, in my case, I was traveling between New Iberia, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. So in the times my home was drying out, I was visiting my mom at the hospital, helping my siblings cope with what could have happened. And just really just taking that time to be thankful and just praying and just standing in my faith is what I did. I don't think there was any moments where I felt like, oh wow, this is overwhelming. We're not going to get past that. I just don't ever see things that way. I just see things as, if it doesn't go back to the way it was, or if it doesn't get better, it wasn't meant to be. So now there's going to be another door or window opening up, and I have to be willing to walk through it. And so that's what we're doing. We're walking through it. And when I see others who are hesitant or afraid, I remind them, we can do this. We can do it together, and we just keep moving forward.
You talked about something a little earlier, Marshall, where you said that, you talked about earlier in your life how you were raised and how you were trained just to do things. And so it kind of makes me think about, people have a level of resiliency, and that can change over time. And I wonder if you feel like your resiliency has increased through this, and what you might attribute that to.
Yeah, everything's a building block, a learning experience. You have to look at it that way. So definitely I've become more resilient through this. I've had to learn patience again, just because it's such a slow process. Dealing, whether you're dealing with FEMA or some kind of contractor or whatever, but it's just a slow process to rebuild a home. And I'm not typically a patient person, because I like to be going and being active. And my wife, I know she's learned, this for her, she's learned to be more resilient herself. This is probably the first disaster she's been with me since we've been married. So I think her viewing me and how she was raised, we're going to be stronger after this, definitely.
All right. And Lisa?
Yeah, I think it's virtually impossible not to have your resiliency increase when you go through something like this. It's almost like you just have to stop existing and say, I'm not going to do anything about it. But to accept the fact that it's happened and to start moving forward. Each day you can say to yourself, you wake up and say, wow, did I leave out of my neighborhood in a boat and I'm still here? We're rebuilding. I look around, my family, my friends, everybody is still here. Your resiliency can't help but increase. And it just lets you know going forward, whatever you encounter, you have it within yourself to deal with it and move forward. It's definitely increased. And I think it also, just beyond resiliency, I think the way the community came together, regardless if it was Baton Rouge, Ascension Parish, or wherever, people really just helped. The guys who got us came from Prairieville. I do not know his name, still don't, but I'm forever grateful. So all the way to New Orleans, people extended, come and stay with us. My colleagues at Ascension Counseling Center, including you, the parish, I think the way people supported each other really made a difference. So even if you weren't affected directly by the floods, I think just in stepping up and helping others, your resiliency increased as well. So
yeah, there's people talk about dry house guilt, you know, because people whose house didn't flood, and they, you know, and mine didn't. My yard and my road flooded. We were flooded in, but when I drive down 431 or some of those other streets and see the piles of debris from people's houses, it just breaks my heart for them, you know. And so, yeah, I think all of us, even if we didn't have water, are faced with the trauma of seeing that and need resiliency as well, so that we're not overwhelmed by that also.
Exactly.
All right. Are there any final thoughts that you'd like to leave us with before we wrap up today? Anything that I didn't ask you that you think that would benefit our viewers?
I guess one thing would be that my wife and I try to find the silver lining and everything, and Lisa mentioned it earlier, but we're taking this as a way to add upgrades to the house, remodel, do it to, you know, make our house our home, and I think it's, you know, it's just a great way to look at it, is to make the changes the way you want it to, even if you just have to change out your floors, or if you got 8 feet of water, now is the time to pick a color of paint that you like, or, you know, so Lisa says she's enjoying the process. You know, I'm more, for me, the learning of patience is waiting for my wife to pick a paint color, or, you know, counter color or whatever. So, but I'm sure, you know, when we're finally finished with the house, I know we'll be happy that with what we have, and, you know, we'll be better because of the experience of the whole thing.
Lisa has a sign in her office that says, "Don't try to fix what's broken, try to build something better." And I think this applies to this situation.
Exactly. It definitely. Hopefully this will leave us all in a better place. And I think if I had to say any final words, is that once we remember, you know, we remember to help each other, support each other. But going forward, I'm always planning ahead, that doer, like you, Marsha. Think about it. We're in Louisiana. We get hit with hurricanes, floods, you know, a lot of different things. So now there are all kind of lists on FEMA's website, as well as any of the local TV channels, that tell you what you need to have in the event of a hurricane or flood. So while you're rebuilding your homes, get that wheelbarrow, get those extra shovels, all your cleaning supplies, and have it stored away in your storage room. So should this happen again, we're better prepared to handle it. So I think take a moment, think about what we can do differently should this happen again, and be prepared. Have all those supplies, have notes, have your bags packed. All those things that we had to do in a hurry, we have time now to think about and get it done. And to take some time to thank all the people that have helped us. I think that's really important, because I'm certainly grateful.
All right. And we want to let you know, our viewers, that if you're struggling with this issue and the flooding, and not only that, but we've had a very stressful summer this year with police shootings and other things going on, just the stress of your daily life. If you're struggling with this issue and with the flooding and having difficulty overcoming all of the emotions that are swamped over you, you may be flooded with emotions, then we invite you to come to Ascension Counseling Center. We help people deal with trauma, and we help people deal with adversity, and we can help you not only with counseling to help you manage these issues better, but we also have a resource specialist, and she has a list of all of the disaster resources that are still available that you can take advantage of. So we invite you to call us. And we thank you for spending your time with us for this episode of Ascension Counseling Center's video newsletter. You can catch replays of the program exclusively on Ascension 21 on the days and times listed on your screen, and anytime on Ascension 21's YouTube channel. We hope today's information will help change your life for the better. That's our goal at Ascension Counseling Center, for our programs to help change lives. Remember, Ascension Counseling Center is here by way of your support. We're funded by a 2 mil property tax millage. which means that $2 from every $1,000 you pay in taxes goes to support our agency so that we can provide free and low-cost mental health and substance abuse outpatient services to residents of Ascension. We're located in Gonzales at 1112 Southeast Ascension Complex. That's off Worthy Road, across from the courthouse and next to the health unit. You can reach us by calling 225-450-1016. You can also find us on the web at ascensionparish.net/MH and on Facebook at Ascension Counseling Center. And you can also hear us on KKAY AM 1590 every Tuesday from 10 to 10:30 a.m. Thanks for your support, and until next time, from everyone at Ascension Counseling Center, thank you for watching.